Where is heaven? Is heaven a spiritual concept, a physical concept, or a covenantal concept? That's what I want to talk to you about today. Hi, I'm Merci Mentor, and I am all about transformation for transformation. I'm a theologian, a trainer, a teacher, and a thinker. And many times when we come to this place in our lives where we want to be close to God, we want to know God, I think that a lot of the concepts or the belief system that we have is what's been presented to us throughout history, throughout Christendom. And we think that in the Bible, when we read the Bible and it says heaven, that it's some kind of remote place, somewhere up, high above the sky. But when we go back to the original context and the setting of the Bible, which is an ancient Near Eastern text, and when we begin to unravel their idea of heaven and what that heaven represented, then the Bible begins to open up to us to let us know what were these people thinking that heaven was and where they could find God. First of all, heaven in their cosmology was everything. In the ancient Near Eastern world, you have to have a temple system. That temple system is what represented heaven because they believed that the temple was the link or the gateway between the gods and between man. So heaven was always represented by a temple system through a priesthood. And without that temple system, they believed that there was no way that any human being could ever get close to God. Now you might say, well, that was the old covenant. That was the Old Testament system. Well, quite frankly, I have to tell you that we as humans were still under that mindset and that mind frame even today. Because when you talk with people, they still believe that God is found in some kind of a church denomination, a temple, a sacred spot, a sacred place. And I think more if you are more traditional, you believe that, and maybe you were reared in that kind of setting as a child. But when we look at the Bible, we recognize that the Bible is saying that there was a time for thousands and thousands of years where humanity believed that they were totally separated from God, and only through a priesthood system with the temple that represented heaven could then bring and bridge heaven and earth together. And what we're seeing in the Bible is that in the ancient Near Eastern time frame and in their cosmology, the temple system was their whole life. It's sort of like talking to us today and, if our capital was blown up or if the infrastructure of our government was completely wiped out, it would be the same concept. Whereas back then, it was all about having this union with God through a priest in a temple system. So what Jesus did was when he came, he completely shifted the reality, I believe, what always was, but humanity just couldn't grasp it, that Jesus actually shifted human consciousness in exemplifying and manifesting to them that there is no separation from God, that people all around the world can come to know God, and you don't need a mediator, you don't need a priesthood. Because what does the Bible say? The Bible, in different places, say, for example, in the Old Testament, in Psalms 23, it says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I know you are with me. This is David speaking. He is sharing an Old Testament concept of, yes, he knew that God was with him. This is why David was a man after God's own heart, because I think he recognized that even in that time frame, he was out of that cosmology. He recognized the reality of God, that God was with us, that God is no longer up in the heavens or the skies, but that God is here with us, dwelling among men. So that by the time Jesus comes on the scene in John chapter 14, 16 through 17, let me read that to you. It says, "And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper to be with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him, for he dwells with you and will be in you. This is a concept of where they believe that it was only through a priesthood and only through a temple system. And Jesus radically changes this worldview, this mindset, even though it hasn't taken shape or reality in the fullness thereof even today. The reality is still there. When we look at Revelation 21:3, people are thinking that this is going to be the future, but I'm telling you, the reality is now. Revelation 21 verse 3, it says this, it says, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and God will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. So Revelation speaks of this. John speaks of this. Psalms speaks of this. When we go into Paul, 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19, he says, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and that you are not your own? It's talking about this great exchange that now we recognize that we no longer need a temple, need an exterior building, need some kind of priesthood, need some kind of other holy man or woman to represent us before God. That all of this was the old heaven and the old earth passing away, and that the new has come. It's been here forever. It's just that human consciousness has not understood it. And the reality is if you believe that you are far away from God, that God is distant from you. Why? Because you did something bad, or you thought something bad, and you feel you're not worthy, or you didn't do good enough. All of these things that the world and even churchianity tells us, God is not surprised by any of those things, and those things have never separated us from God. In fact, God has no issue or problem with our human nature. He sees it for what it is. It's we have a problem with it. We want to cover it up. We want to hide. We want to run away. Not God. He doesn't have any issues with that. So if you ever think that God is distant, he is far away, that I have to do something, or I have to go to some sacred place, or I have to give some kind of sacrifice to somehow come closer to God, that's old world thinking. That's old Stone Age thinking. You need to come out of that, renew your mind, and come into the reality. The reality is that God is here. Wherever God is heaven. Heaven is where God is. It's not a place. It is a mindset, a thinking, and a dimension that you can always carry with you. So therefore, God is right here. He is dwelling among us. He is with us. All you need to do is to come before him, be honest and transparent, cry out to him, and he will come and reveal himself to you in a way that you can comprehend him. God bless you in this journey, this spiritual journey of transformation, spirit, soul, and body.